Trek Central have been able to get the details of a new Star Trek series. This series is exclusive. It has not been announced, even though San Diego Comic-Con is just around the corner. But why am I not going to talk about it? Because Alex Kurtzman is a complete idiot. Welcome to the Tachyon Pulse podcast.
Our Tachyon pulse has been unable to completely penetrate the anomaly.
So yeah, Trek Central have been able to exclusively reveal that there's going to be a new Star Trek series called Starfleet Scouts. It's an animated series. They know that it's going to happen because actually through the United States Patent Office they've been able to get a few details about it, and through a casting website that is actually looking for young actors to appear in it. Apparently, this show is actually going to happen as well. This is not like other things that are being developed at the moment. This is something that Paramount or Skydance have actually agreed to. I know a little bit about it, actually. I've been able to speak to somebody who's been able to give me a few more details, which we'll talk about in a bit, but it is actually going to be happening. So why am I not particularly excited about it? Well, for one, it's another animated series. I love Lower Decks, I love Prodigy, but both failed in some ways. Lower Decks, maybe not. I'm actually thinking we're going to get an animated movie, as far as I know we are. But this is an animated series. But more importantly, it's an animated series that's not going to appear on any network. No. It's going on YouTube. I'll let that sink in for a second. They are actually making an animated series. I'm told they're actually going to be shorts. They're actually going to be quite short, little 5-minute episodes or something at most. And it's going to go on YouTube. Possibly like the Nickelodeon YouTube channel or something like that. Or if it was me, I would have a Star Trek channel and I would put it specifically on there. But, you know, this is Alex Kurtzman talking about. But why am I slightly frustrated by this? And why do I say Alex Kurtzman is a complete idiot? Even though we already know that from many, many situations previously. Well, I know actually that on the surface this is quite a smart move in some ways, because I know my kids don't watch cartoons anymore. I've told you guys this loads of times if you're a regular sci-trekker. I actually paid for the Cartoon Networks when I had little kids, 5-year-olds, and I realised after about 6 months I was the only one watching them. They were watching YouTube. So, if you want to capture a younger audience, you start on YouTube and you get people excited. And this is something that Kurtzman has talked about repeatedly, in that they need to get new Star Trek fans because we're all dying and we're all decrepit and old. So they have to generate new fans. Right now, you could argue Star Wars has done that quite well because they've done several animated series over the years. And they've all been of really good, high quality that have been in canon as well. And they've actually... There's some of those shows you actually do need to watch if you're a real Star Wars fan, when the movies and stuff come out, because they lead up to them. They add depth to a lot of those movies and things. If you want real wide depth of the lore, you need to watch them. Star Trek hasn't really done that. It's done series instead that of adding to certain things. You needed to actually watch the previous series to understand them. And I've had this argument about Prodigy a couple of times, that it was so based around Voyager that there are big bits of those series you would not understand unless you'd watched Voyager. Who is this Janeway woman? Why is the Doctor a hologram? And why do we care about Chakotay? All of these things are very much based in the Voyager series. But that show was based at children. It was idiotic, even though it's a show I absolutely loved. The point of the show was to be for children, and it didn't work. It's not going to attract any new audience if when you watch it at 6 years old, your parents are there going, that's funny because of Voyager. Here's your homework, now watch Voyager. The animated stuff that Star Wars did was okay, based within that universe. Then you need to go and watch the movies, etc. But they were actually, on the whole, pretty standalone. As an adult, you're there going, that's interesting. But as a kid, you're watching it going, this is great, what a story, I love it. But actually, It's more than that. Who, again, is watching animation? A lot of the time, it's us, not kids. So that's why they're going to aim this at YouTube for that reason. But do they need to? I don't know about you as a Star Trek fan. I'm 47. I might be kicking around for another 40 years. I don't actually think us Trekkies, us TNG Trekkies in particular, are actually on our dying legs. The problem is, a new Trek under Alex, I'm a moron, Kurtzman, isn't good enough. If you watch pigging the TNG as a 15 or 16-year-old boy because it was brilliant, because it was exciting, because it was interesting, because it was just good sci-fi, and I was a bit of a nerd, fair enough, but lots of kids are, I was hooked. I became a Trekkie. My dad wasn't a Trekkie, he wasn't telling me. I hadn't really loved Star Trek, the original series. I'd seen it, but I didn't love it. It was 30 years. I respect it and understand it better now, but as a kid, I was a bit like, well, it's a bit dated. But I loved TNG. I loved Voyager. I loved Deep Space Nine because it was good. And this is the thing that I keep banging my little drum about, and I keep getting so frustrated with things like Section 31 and Prodigy to a degree, less to a degree Lower Decks, because that was aimed at us. It was aimed at TNG fans. My problem is, Alex Kurtzman has this business model that he's always had behind Secret Hideout. Remembering this man is not a Trekkie. And I don't care who tells me, oh no, he loves Star Trek. He doesn't. He is a person that is using Star Trek to progress his own career, in my opinion. He has this business model that has ruined Star Trek in lots of ways, because what they've done is, they've gone, right, we've got a sci-fi show. But not everyone likes sci-fi. Some people like romances, or teenage dramas, or something else. So what we'll do is, we'll create a Star Trek for each of those people, and then it doesn't matter if you don't like one, because you've got another one to watch. That's moronic. What he's also done with Strange New Worlds and Discovery was could do a prequel, which is also moronic. And then intermixed bits from the J.J. Abrams universe, because he helped create that and write it, which was also moronic. There are lots of rumours going around, and I've told you guys a lot of them exclusively in first, that Alex Kurtzman really is on a razor fine line with Skydance. They want Star Trek to be successful again. And I also told you, first and exclusively, a little while ago, that there were people at Paramount that were very, very keen to get him out of Star Trek. There was a very high-up executive that I actually got to speak to after he lost his job. I spoke to a couple of people of his team, and I spoke to people around him, but I actually got to speak to him eventually. But when there was a big load of redundancies last year at Paramount, he was pushed out. And he actually did speak to me, and I said to him, look, my problem with Star Trek is, there's manifold, but if you're a hardcore Star Trek fan, a lot of Star Trek's quite annoying, because they don't quite focus on the canon enough. They make errors with canon and things, and it can be quite frustrating at times. Watching the J.J. Abrams Star Trek, really frustrating, because they just didn't seem to focus on the detail very well. They made just stupid mistakes like warp transporting and things. It was just moronic and just annoyed Star Trek fans. But because they keep doing prequels and then time shifting series and things, and we had like 4 different shows in 4 different time frames at one point, it's very difficult for sort of like the casual viewer to come in, because they don't know where the bloody hell they are or what's going on. So what they ended up doing was doing Star Trek that annoys the hardcore fans, and sort of like more casual fans find it hard to get into. And this guy over that was at Paramount, he's now over at Warner Brothers, was basically said, you're singing to the choir. I've been yelling this for years. His argument was basically, do not have 3 different shows in 3 different time frames. It's a big problem with Star Wars at the moment as well, that you need to sort of get out a pen and paper and try to figure out which series is based when, because it's not always clear. And again, for the casual viewer, it can be a bit confusing. Star Wars fans love it, and I think they're a bit better at sticking to canon, or even though they're better at it now. than a lot of Trekkies have found with Kurtzman. But basically, Kurtzman thought that, well, we can do the same thing, then we'll just flip it over the place. And this executive producer, this guy that was over at Paramount, was basically saying, no, it's bloody confusing. And when they speak to people, they were basically saying, look, any show like this has about 30 or 40% your hardcore fan. And then there's another 30, 40% of like a casual viewer that come and go. And then you've got, 23%, the remainder basically, that will watch the odd episode when it's on. They might not necessarily go looking for it, but if they do see it, jump up on their stream, they'll go, oh, I'll watch that. They're not like excitedly waiting for it and looking up news on YouTube and things like that. So Star Trek was really alienating the hardcore fans under Kurtzman because it was confusing, it was messing with canon, and it wasn't actually in the time frame we wanted, except for Picard. We wanted something to continue from Deep Space Nine, Voyager, TNG. We didn't necessarily want another prequel. It put casual viewers off because it was difficult to keep up with because the time frames were all over the place. And the 20-30% of the rest that would come and go would watch one episode, go, I don't know what this is, I'm confused, and never watch it again. So what you've seen is basically annoying your entire fan base. And he said, we were arguing with Secret Hideout for a while running up to it that basically we wanted 1, maybe 2 time frames at most. We wanted a continuation following on from Picard, which basically would have been Star Trek Legacy. And we want it to be simplified, and we want it to feel more like Star Trek. And no more of this genre-bending nonsense. It's got to be sci-fi first. He was talking total sense, and they basically fired him. Made him redundant. I actually hear he got a very good, nice financial package out of it. But that's not the point. When they got rid of these voices within Paramount and the Skydance deal started to go through and Skydance basically took over, ever since, Secret Hideout has been basically left to it. They were told, crack on with Academy, we don't care what you do, just do it, and finish Strange New Worlds. And that's all their direction has been. They've basically been told nothing else. We get this stupid YouTube show, but basically that is going to cost very, very little amount of money, and it would be, I imagine, pitched as an experiment. Will this work? Will they watch it on YouTube? How can it work? So it's an experiment, and that's fine, and that's why I think they're being allowed to do it, because it's an experiment. The problem for me, I just think that this just underlines and puts in bold again that the person currently running Star Trek is a moron that doesn't understand the franchise and needs to be gone. They need somebody in charge of Star Trek that actually cares about the franchise, that understands Star Trek, and that can create shows with love, with humour, but we don't need a comedy, with quirky episodes, but not every single one, with some genre twisting stuff within the sci-fi universe, because sci-fi can do that, but not so aggressively and in your face as they are. TNG did a couple of Sherlock Holmes episodes and things like that. It was fine because it was still sci-fi, it was still Star Trek, it was still what we understood. I'm not sure Strange New Worlds has done that. You watch the musical and you'd have to go, even if you like it, this isn't Star Trek. It makes no bloody sense for a start. So, okay, I've ranted for nearly 15 minutes. But even though I just have to get it out there, and even though I've done it a few times before, I just have to get it out there. Kurtzman's a moron. I'm just hoping Skydance are realising. But guys, get into the comments. Tell me on a scale of 1 to 10 how much of a moron is Alex Kurtzman. 1 being a total moron, 10 being I'm surprised he can even get out of a room without hitting himself in the face with a door. Moron. Anywhere from there. If you actually think he's not a moron, you'll have to give us a minus number, but I bet I don't get many. Get into the comments and tell me exactly what you think. And tell me what you think about this new YouTube idea. It's what kids watch at the end of the day. So, maybe it's not something we're going to have to watch. They did the Star Trek shorts a couple of years ago. I don't even think I watched them. But get into the comments and tell me exactly what you think. If you are new to the channel, don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the bell notification. It really helps us out and you'll never miss any of our new videos. Also, you can become a member of the channel and you get to see a lot of our videos up to 24 hours before everybody else. It's not bad, is it? Go check that out. As always, please stay safe. I'll see you next time.
Our tachyon pulse has been unable to completely penetrate the anomaly.